Let me tell you about Jim Lopez. Why do I have him on Death of a Spine Salesman? He's not a medical technologist, but he is a sales guru and a mentor of mine in life.
I saw this ad in the newspaper, salesperson for Termites. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I went in there and I got hired. I became a termite inspector, sales guy. Why I became like a good salesman. I didn't realize that, but I landed in this office in Salinas, California, and 3 of the best salesmen in the entire country.
Let's hone in on the sales knowledge you learned and like how you utilize it to this day on pretty much everything. So what did you learn in that first experience with these 3 super experienced salesmen?
So then I go out on these sales calls
with them?
Yeah, and these guys were animals. They would basically do a really thorough inspection, and they use what we call the assumption clause.
I know that one.
So, dude, they would sit down at the table and basically say, "Oh my God, this is what we're gonna do," and they assumed they were getting the sale. They were so aggressive. They were so knowledgeable about their product.
Sell me this Terminex. All right, guys, Death of a Spine Salesman, Showman James. I've got a special good friend. Look how I wrote it here. Don't say anything yet. Let me introduce you. He wants to talk so bad, people. So Mr. Jim Lopez, he's a best good friend, a groomsman in my wedding, but I've only known you for how long, Jim Lopez?
It's been about 4 years, actually.
4 years, and the guy made the cut.
Wow.
When you're having fun, time goes by.
I know.
At warp speed. So let's slow it down a little bit. Let me tell you about Jim Lopez. He is the CEO of Big Time, of Pinnacle Pest Control. He is, dude, guys, his story. Why do I have him on Death of a Spine Salesman? He's not a medical technologist, but he is a sales guru and a mentor of mine in life, on finances, on being a father. So, and being an all-around funny guy. He's a funny guy, not like Joe Pesci. But thank you, Jim, for doing this. Tell us where we're at.
So I think initially you wanted to talk about sales.
No, where are we right now?
Oh, so my God, we're in the Napa Valley celebrating my birthday.
How old?
In St. Helena.
How old?
Oh my God, I don't like to talk about it.
Tell the public.
55. My
55.
God, I feel old.
I would say transpose it, but transposing it also says 55.
Yeah, exactly. So we are now looking at mobile home parks. You can buy a mobile home park. You can buy
this guy would buy the lot.
Yeah.
Hey,
we're
you
looking at mobile home
parks?
parks, 55. You know, we could finally get in there. I've always thought like,
you think he's joking, folks? This guy is real as real can be.
Yeah.
He has a strategy. He'll make you get to your P&Ls and your financials. You know I have you in my ear on everything I do. Stay close to your financials. P&Ls. Let me see your books. That's what he does to me. It's annoying, but he's so right. How do you know business so well?
Well, I think I want to focus on what you wanted to talk about. Initially, you basically said, "Hey, let's talk about sales."
Yes.
So it's interesting how I got into sales because when I was in college, I was I got a marketing degree. And
where'd you go?
I went to Sacramento State University, and I didn't do well.
Wait, let's back up. Let's talk about where you're born and raised.
So I was born and raised in Hollister, California.
What high school?
I went to Hollister High, the hay balers. I mean, and dude, listen, I grew up as in a farming community. My parents were Middle America, and
Where'd your dad work?
My dad worked at Safeway.
Did your mom work?
My mom worked in a cannery, actually, as a quality assurance person. And I grew up with a family of 5 kids. All my brothers and sisters were brilliant. Like, they're all scholars. They all went to really good schools. USC, UC Santa Barbara, master's degrees, all of that. And I barely made it into Sac State.
Hell yeah!
I barely made it into Sac State. The reason I made it into Sac State was on the application. I said my parents were migrant field workers, so they had to let me in. There was no way they could not let me in. That's how I went into Sac State, and I struggled through school because I never really studied. I don't have a
You didn't need
memory.
to.
I didn't
You
have a
didn't need
memory
to.
of studying and doing homework. In my
What were you
in high
doing?
school.
What were you doing?
I was just
instead?
hanging out and cheating and like having people help me. When I finally went to
Was
college,
it the Indian kids? Or
no,
there's
we didn't have
Indian
any Indian kids. We didn't have Indian kids in Hollister. They were all Mexican.
Yeah, oh my
Okay.
God.
So then when I got to college, as a junior, I realized, okay, I better clean this up, and I need to start reading and studying and getting better grades. And eventually, like I realized, okay, I'm actually a pretty smart guy, and I went from getting C
You ain't
minus,
no dummy.
C minus. I ain't no dummy. I went from getting C minuses to like C pluses to immediately getting A's.
Okay, so
Okay,
you
I'm like,
got
okay.
into college. Look,
I don't
have
have the
much
capability
time.
of doing this, right?
You would really just drain my battery. He talks so gosh darn much. So I'm gonna fast forward.
Okay.
I appreciate you were a mediocre student.
Yeah. So then I graduated from college. I went out in the workforce. I
Yes,
couldn't
now
find a
it
job.
gets hot, guys.
I
Now it
couldn't
gets
find a
hot.
job because of how much of a dummy I was. So listen to what I did. I saw
didn't have
this
real
ad.
job
I
skills.
saw this ad in the newspaper. Salesperson for Termites. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I
Yeah.
went in there and I got hired. And I became a termite inspector, sales guy.
Is
I
that
felt
the
like,
time, Honey, I Shrunk My Kids?
no, yeah, no. So, dude, this was back in the late '90s, right?
Yeah.
Back then. So, I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, you
okay?
smart. You hella
Yeah.
smart.
So then I went to
Hella
work for Terminix. I had a uniform on, little lapels right here, a green tie. I felt like such
Tell
a
me your
loser.
first sales
No,
call.
I felt like such a loser. But
No,
let me tell you
come on.
why I became
That's
like a good
job.
salesman. I didn't realize that, but I landed in this office in Salinas, California, and 3 of the best salesmen in the entire country in Terminex were there, the top 3 guys. And I just kind of went in and hung out with them. I had no
Okay,
idea.
this is a good
I
moment.
had
let me
no
hone in
idea.
on this because majority of our audience are salespeople.
Okay,
So
okay.
let's hone in on the sales knowledge you learned and like how you utilize it to this day on pretty much everything. So what did you learn in that first experience with these 3 super experienced
so
salespeople?
these guys were the top 3 sales guys in the United States. I was oblivious
Wow,
to that.
what are the chances
I
of that
know.
happening?
So that's what I fell into. So then I go out on these sales calls
With them?
and these guys were animals. They would basically do a really thorough inspection, and they use what we call the assumption clause.
I know that one.
So, dude, they would sit down at the table and basically say, "Oh my God,
Assume.
this is what we're gonna do," and they assumed they were getting the sale. They were so aggressive. They were so knowledgeable about their product. They basically were very thorough with their inspection.
Let's run a scenario right here and there. Sell me this Terminex. Instead of this pen, I'm saying sell me this Terminex.
So basically, the idea is this, dude.
Yeah.
The reason they call this is because they know they have a problem. The termite world isn't that difficult to sell. That's how I feel. Because dude,
you're
they
so
have
good
an
at
insect coming out of their walls. You know what I mean? It's like they have to do something.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea was to be very thorough with the inspection. Do a thorough inspection, understand your product well, and relay it in a normal way so people understand exactly what they're getting.
Yeah.
Right? And then they would basically assume that things needed to get done when we are going to do this, so on and so forth. What I learned about these guys too, I thought they were maniacs, but I never ever caught some sort of like unethical thing.
Yeah.
They were so honest.
Well, you think sales guy, you think automatically car salesman.
On top of that, dude,
come on this end. This guy keeps on moving away from me. I want him to get close.
So
we don't have a wide screen. This is
so on top of that, they were,
Samsung.
one of the things that I found, because these guys were so successful, they didn't need the money, dude. They were already making a lot. So every time they were around someone, they kind of mirrored the personality. They mirrored the personality.
Yes.
They looked around and said, "Oh my God, this guy's into cars." And they pointed out, say, "Hey, before we talk about the termites, say, hey, what's going on with that car in the garage?" And when I did the termite inspection, when I did them, it's like, hey, listen, before I tell you about the termites, dude, I saw this Camaro. Whose Camaro is that? I've always wanted one.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll raise my hand. So with Jim Lopez, it's hard to get a word in edgewise, so I have to raise a question. So let me ask you this. Do you think they just enjoyed what they did?
They totally loved it.
They loved it.
They loved what they did.
I love
They
that.
were really good at what they did. They were so honest. dude. And these guys were used to making a lot of money.
Yeah.
They had all these commitments.
Hardworking. I mean, how many calls did you guys do in a day?
4 calls a day. These guys work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day.
10 hours a day.
I walked into that, and then it became part of my life. I worked so eventually I went off and started my own company for a lot of different reasons, dude. And my son hates this part. When I left to start my own business,
Shout out Jack. Shout out
Jack Lopez. Hey, what's up, buddy?
He's in his internship.
Exactly.
Can you stop talking about yourself and talk about your son for a second? Give it up for Jack Lopez. He's getting his internship right now.
Yes, he's actually in Newport Beach at an internship. Jack goes to the University of Arizona. Dude, he's brilliant. Yeah. He's brilliant. 4.7 GPA out of high school, full academic scholarship. And, I wasn't built that way. He was, and he has that brain. But what I try to instill in him is the work ethic. He sees what his dad's accomplished. Exactly. Like,
come on.
So these guys that I was telling you about
Sterling. This is the high end. This is the high end. Put your hand up. Put your hand on my leg. Look at that. See that?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that's weird.
Keep it there.
So the idea
Say
what
for the audience.
Yeah, high end.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So, dude, listen. These guys were so successful because of their work ethic. That's what I have. I wasn't the smartest.
What about your parents? What about their work ethic? Don't you think it stems?
Same. Yeah.
Don't you think
my dad worked at Safeway 6 days a week, 10 hours a day.
That's the number.
Ever.
10 hours a day. That's
10 hours a day, 6 days a week.
How long do you work?
I don't work like that anymore.
Why?
I did forever. But dude, I work all day. I think it's different because I'm on a computer, and to me, I'm always on my phone and my computer, and it's different.
You're always on the high-tech shit.
No, but I'm always on, period. Yeah. But my dad basically told me one thing. He talked to me about getting wealthy. He goes, you want to be rich? It's really easy. You work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Let me tell you. No. The reason 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. You know why?
Why am I hanging out with you?
Because on Sunday, you never have time to spend money. You never have time. You start at 7 in the morning, you're off at 6 o'clock.
You're tired as shit.
You're tired as shit during nighttime.
You don't want to do
And then on Sunday, you think you want to go out and spend money. You just want to relax and rest.
Genius.
He did that for a decade, right? So
God, you are the dummy.
So
dude, you're making me go out and spend money. Thank God he's paying for everything on his birthday. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, and that's the way I like to do things.
You really are,
of course.
Hey,
that's normal. Okay?
All joking aside, let me just say this because
I think we're running out of time.
Well, we're running out of time, but I do want to get this on vinyl, as they say.
Yeah.
You are a big deal for me. In a time when a lot of people think I'm going crazy, you encourage me, you laugh with me, most importantly, and you freaking just be you. And I look at God and I say to myself, I was like, okay, during a crazy ass time of growth and all this great, you keep me so grounded by calling me a dummy, by just making fun of me, and we laugh our asses off. Do you know how wonderful that is?
Yeah.
So I don't get well, look, I want you to hear it on this so you can watch it over and over again because you like my content. Say it to the people that he likes my content and thinks.
Yeah, I love this content. Actually, I think you do a great job. Actually.
Well, hey,
I never wanted to be on videos or whatever for a lot of different reasons. Right?
Well, you are now.
It's probably a weird insecurity that I have. What changed actually was watching you and the fact that you do it and you do it so well. So thanks for bringing me on.
Oh, we're going to do more. Time. See, guys, people are going to love this. More to come from Jim Lopez. Yeah. Honestly, he has a tremendous story, and he's a very big inspiration, not only to me, but to so many others, young salespeople. Do you run an internship?
I want to, yes.
I'm opening up a Sacramento one. We had a great candidate, Carly. I can't even talk about it, but she's great. But you, my friend, should have an internship. You have a lot to give back to the sales world and to the human world because you're a great human. So thanks, Jim. Come on, hug it out. Hug it out, man. I surprised him, y'all. I surprised him.